This is the onboarding module. And so what we want to do is integrate the client in here somewhere. And the beautiful thing about this is there's two ways to do it. So the first way is, let's say that you want to keep the client out of the internal team's discussions. Monday.com offers a great way to broadcast the 30,000 foot view of the project without the client seeing the details. So let's go ahead and set that up right now. So it's really simple. We're just going to add a view and click broadcast.
Yeah, so as Ben is creating this broadcast view, essentially what he's doing is he's creating a little bit of a filter between us and the client, because we don't want the client to see too much in this situation. So with this broadcast view, they just get to see all of the high-level tasks and the status of how everything is going. This gives the client a big, broad 30,000 foot view of everything without getting them too into the weeds of the details.
What you would do is you would send this URL to your client, and this is all they would see. As you can see, they can't click into any of the individual efforts to see what the internal team is dealing with. But they can see where there's feedback due and where the feedback is and when the feedback is scheduled. So they know that they have a very limited time to get you guys feedback on the tasks. All right, let's say that you wanted the client to be more involved in the project and be able to actually interact with your internal team. There's a way that you can do this on this platform. So what you do is you'd click guests and subscribers, and then you'd want to add them as a guest. So let's go ahead and add Elise. So you can see we have her email already in there, and this adds her to the guest list. Now you can also use this for freelancers that you onboard as a part of the project, because you don't want to pay for an entire license just for those freelancers. This way they can interact with the specific project and then be removed at the end of it, and you'll have a clean ecosystem.
Right.
So now we've added Elise, our client, into the ecosystem, and we can actually assign her tasks. So let's say we've got this feedback cycle here, and we're going to go ahead and assign it to Elise. Now the awesome thing about this is that when Elise logs into Monday.com, she will see her assignments in her inbox as soon as she logs in.
Right.
It'll also email her updates as things evolve.
Right. So we've added Elise to a couple of assignments here. So this is, like we said at the beginning of this part, that if you want your client to be very involved, maybe it's a very small team and you're in a rush or you have a very short timeline where you do need the client very involved on these things. So this is where you can invite them in as a guest, as if they're one of your team members, and you can give them a lot more visibility on the day-to-day. So they could come into the Monday.com ecosystem, they can see the status of everything and interact and comment, and we'll get into that more in a later module.
The other great application for adding your client as a guest is, let's say if you have a single point of contact over at the client side, and you want to be able to add them to your ecosystem, but also have a broadcast view for the rest of their team. That way, they have to funnel feedback through one person, the person who has access to the board. But let's say they have higher ups who want to keep an eye on the process of the project, but don't necessarily need the details that Elise does. Combining the two is a great way to handle that.
Right. So this is where, even though Elise, our point of contact on the client side, is involved on the inside of the ecosystem, we could still use the broadcast view to share that link with anybody else who just needs to see the 30,000 foot view of the project.